Hey guys, welcome back to the Sleepy Science. The stars are dimming, not because they are going out, but because your eyes are adjusting, shifting inward. You're no longer in your room, not exactly. The pillow beneath you begins to feel like warm stone. The fan above hums like desert wind. You're lying in the timeless dust of an ancient place, somewhere between Egypt and dream, Mesopotamia and memory. Around you, dunes stretch endlessly, their curves like sleeping giants. The sand is warm, but not hot. It pulses slowly beneath your body, as if the earth remembers a heartbeat you've long forgotten. The breeze carries the faint smell of spice, clove, maybe cinnamon, and the echo of flute notes, long faded, but not quite gone. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Where are you listening from tonight? And what time is it over there? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your mind begins to soften at the edges like clay warming in morning sun. You are lying in the middle of a forgotten ruin. It's vast, but mostly buried now. Just a few sun-bleached walls and broken columns remain visible above the sand, like bones of a giant creature once alive with language, trade, and laughter. Somewhere under you, 10 feet, maybe 20, lie entire city blocks that haven't seen sunlight in 4,000 years. There's something soothing in that thought, that under the surface things persist. Even when time forgets, you hear something, not with your ears, but with your memory, a low vibration, like a chant from a temple that no longer stands. It might be your imagination, or maybe something more collective, something you're tapping into. After all, archaeologists in the early 1900s used to talk about the desert hum, a low-frequency sound they swore they heard in certain ruins, especially at night. And then beneath your fingertips, you feel a ripple, not a tremor, not an earthquake, just something shifting. The sand is not just sand, it's the dust of stories. Every grain once part of something, a painted jug, a palace stair, a sun-baked tablet etched with laws or lullabies. You breathe in slowly, and somewhere nearby, unseen but strangely known, is the entrance to a buried room. The idea of lost civilizations has always stirred something in you. Maybe it's not just curiosity, maybe it's longing, an echo of connection to people you've never met but somehow still miss. They walked under the same sun, loved the same way, worried about the rain and the harvest, and whether the gods were listening. Did you know that in the city of Ugarit, an ancient coastal settlement now in ruins, archaeologists found a clay tablet with a hymn more than 3,000 years old? It's considered one of the earliest pieces of written music ever discovered. Imagine that, someone with fingers like yours once composing a melody, never knowing it would survive fire, war, and erosion, just to end up in a museum. But here's the quirky part. The melody is hauntingly familiar. Musicians today can play it, and it sounds human, melancholy, sweet, as if sadness, hope, and rhythm have always lived side by side in us. What else might still whisper through time? As you breathe, the air gets a little thicker, like you're drifting downward, not falling, just lowering gently through layers of history, like silk scarves fluttering down a well. There's debate, even now, about what exactly happened to many of these lost cultures. Historians argue over timelines. Did drought end the Indus Valley civilization? Or was it trade collapse, climate change, conflict, or maybe something more silent, like disease, or simply time forgetting how to remember? One theory you hear murmured in the silence is called cultural overshoot, the idea that some civilizations expanded too far, too fast, consuming their own foundations before they could adapt. Others suggest they never truly vanished, that the people just moved on, changed languages, took new names, became parts of newer empires, layers over layers, like dreams fading into each other by morning. A small breeze stirs, and a broken mosaic is uncovered beside you. Bits of blue glass arranged into an eye shape, perhaps once part of a doorway meant to ward off bad spirits. The symbol feels familiar. You've seen it on keychains, necklaces, modern tattoos. Isn't it strange how some images survive even when languages die? You roll onto your side, feeling the warmth of the sand and the weightlessness of time. Everything slows. Your breathing, your thoughts, your questions. And then, soft as a lullaby, comes a question that doesn't set to need an answer. What if parts of you are older than your body? A thought begins to rise, a memory that's not yours but feels like it might be. You see a hand, you don't know if it's yours or someone else's, laying a brick in a wall. The sun is bright, the city is rising around you, people are laughing, there's food cooking somewhere, children running, bells ringing to signal something, joyous though you don't know what. And then it fades. But the feeling doesn't sit. The whisper of lost civilizations isn't loud. It never shouts. It's the kind of voice you only hear when everything else is quiet. Like now. The sand beneath you feels softer. You realize it's no longer sand. It's fabric. Your blanket. Your pillow. You're still in your room. And yet, you are not entirely here. Not yet. Not when the past is still humming under your skin like a slow drum beat. Breathe in, and let sets drift deeper. You drift. Not downward, not forward, but inward, into layers of silence so ancient they echo. You pass through the breath of centuries like fog, and when you settle again you find yourself standing on something solid. It's not sand anymore. It's stone, warm, worn, deeply carved. You're standing in a city, but it's not one anyone lives in now. The moon hangs overhead, silent and full, like it's been waiting for you. You walk slowly. The air smells like cedar, ash, and something older, something like copper and ink. You run your fingers along the edge of a wall, tracing lines etched into stone thousands of years ago. Cuneiform, those wedge-shaped marks that once carried laws, prayers, contracts, and love letters. You're in Sumer now, the ancient land between the Tigris and Euphrates, often called the cradle of civilization. Somewhere near what is now Iraq, this land once birthed cities like Uruk and Ur, long before the pyramids were raised. Funny, isn't it, how we often call something the cradle, as if it was the beginning of a baby's life. But what if this cradle was really an old soul's bed, a civilization that grew wise, bloomed early, and then quietly rested? Did you know the Sumerians may have invented the concept of time as we use it? The 60-minute hour, the 24-hour day, all drawn from their sexagesimal base 60 system. You glance at your watch, or you think you do, but it's not there, because here, time is not measured. It's felt. It pulses like water trickling through an irrigation canal. You step into a temple courtyard. The ziggurat looms above you, stair-stepped like a mountain designed by dream architects. It rises into the star-powdered sky, massive and deliberate. Some say it was built to bring humanity closer to the heavens. Others argue it was meant to anchor the divine here, like pinning stars to the soil. There's an old Sumerian tale about Enki, the god of wisdom, sending gifts to humans. The me, pronounced May. These were not things, but principles. Music, writing, craftsmanship, justice, even the art of being a hero. They were meant to guide civilization. But here's the twist. In the myth, the goddess Inanna tricks Enki into giving her the me, all of them. She takes them from his domain and brings them to her own city. Chaos and beauty follow. A reminder perhaps that knowledge and power don't always arrive neatly. It's a detail that historians still debate. Was this myth about divine balance or human ambition? As you walk, your feet echo softly. There's no one around. And yet, you feel watched, not in a menacing way, but in the way a library watches its readers. Curious, patient, offering. You pass market stalls, or what sip's left of them, stone bases where once bronze, ivory, Lapis lazuli and barley were traded. Your hand brushes a fallen sign, smooth and cold. There sits an inscription: to eat bread and drink beer is to be alive. You smile. Some things never change. Here's a quirky fact. The Sumerians loved beer. They even had goddess Ninkasi, patron of brewing. Her hymn, carved on a clay tablet, is not only a prayer, it's also a recipe, one of the earliest recorded in human history. Imagine singing your cooking instructions. You'd never forget them, right? A gentle wind picks up, and the city shifts. You blink, and the shadows change. The streets seem newer now, the bricks less cracked, the air more vibrant. You're still dreaming, or remembering. Or maybe a young girl runs past you, laughing. She's carrying a tablet, not like the kind we use today, but a real clay one, freshly inscribed. She's going to the scribal school, learning to be one of the few literate people in her city. Her family must be proud. You wonder what she wrote. A poem? A prayer? Or maybe just her name, over and over, practicing its shape. Civilizations are like that. They write their names in clay, in stone, in sky, hoping someone someday will read them. And you are. Right now, there's a doorway ahead, just partially open. You step through it into a house. The roof is gone, but the outline remains. A kitchen corner with a clay oven, a recessed spot for cool storage, the faint dip in the floor where water once collected. And near the wall, a small carved idol, not for worship maybe, but for protection. It's missing its eyes, worn smooth by centuries. You reach out and touch its forehead gently, and you feel something. A hum, a warmth, a familiarity. You think about the archaeologists who first uncovered these places, so many of them from elsewhere, trained in European museums, arriving in these lands with wide eyes and dusty boots, some with reverence, some with greed. Many pulled up entire temples and palaces, shipping pieces across oceans. Is it still history if it steps torn from its home? There's a debate still swirling in quiet circles of academia. Should the artifacts of ancient places be returned, or do they belong to humanity as a whole? You don't answer. Not here, not now. You step back out under the stars. The wind has shifted. A faint melody plays again, familiar but unplaceable. You follow it past empty cisterns and broken statues until you reach a garden. Yes, a garden. Ancient, yes, but not dead. Its layout remains, terraced beds, now bare but once filled with figs, pomegranates, cucumbers, and onions. You kneel and press your palm to the earth, still warm. You think about how civilizations grow like gardens, carefully at first, then wildly, then sometimes they wither. But even when the plants are gone, the soil remembers. Your eyelids are heavy now, not from exhaustion but from fullness. You lie back, look up at the stars. You realize you're not alone, not in a spooky way, but in the deepest, most comforting sense. You carry them with you, the ones who came before, their stories, their symbols, their errors, their songs. A breeze passes, and it says nothing, but somehow it tells you everything. You exhale. The stars above you ripple like the surface of a still lake gently stirred by thought. You're floating again, not flying, not falling, but carried. The Sumerian night fades, not abruptly, but like ink slowly dissolving in warm water, and from that deepening silence, shapes begin to emerge, shapes older than the notion of history itself. The air is cooler now, drier. You hear wind, not as a whistle but as a long, low breath crossing open land. You are somewhere in the Sahara, but not the Sahara you know from maps or travel shows. No, this is the Green Sahara, the one that existed before deserts claimed the soil, a place teeming with life. When ancient rains fell in sheets and rivers etched laughter into the landscape. Before sand, there was water. Before silence, there was music. You're surrounded by tall grasses, soft hills and lakes that mirror the sky so perfectly you hesitate to step forward. But you do. And with that step, you arrive at Nabta Playa, a Neolithic site so old it predates Stonehenge by over 1,000 years. Scattered across this prehistoric lakeside are stone circles, standing slabs, and deliberate alignments. They weren't built for shelter. They were built for understanding. It's humbling to think that long before the pyramids, humans were already watching the sky, tracking solstices, perhaps even measuring the stars' positions in relation to themselves. You sit near one of the stone arrangements. Here the slabs are weathered, but they still hum with meaning. Archaeologists believe they formed a kind of calendar, aligned with the summer solstice, when the monsoons would arrive and replenish the lakes. But here's a curious, unresolved question. Why did they stop? The rains. One day they just didn't come back, and slowly the green turned to gold, then to dust. Did the people migrate toward the Nile? Did they leave these stones behind intentionally, like a breadcrumb trail for future souls? You run your fingers over one of the stones. It's warm, almost like skin. You imagine the hands that placed it, the thoughts behind it, the nights spent wondering if the stars were speaking or merely watching. There's something profoundly intimate in that act of aligning rocks with the sky, like carving a message to the cosmos and hoping it whispers back. You lean into the warmth of that idea. A herder passes by in the distance, his silhouette ghost-like, carrying the echo of cattle and song. You can't tell if he's real or memory, maybe both. There's a strange comfort in the thought that some of these ancient nomads might have walked the same path you're on now, not metaphorically, but literally, that their feet fell where yours now do, and that the earth remembers. Did you know that in the Sahara, buried under the dunes, are fossils of crocodiles, fish, and even hippos, creatures that needed water to thrive? Proof that this land was once alive in ways we can barely imagine now. And here's something even more peculiar. Buried among these ancient stone circles, archaeologists found the remains of domesticated cattle buried like royalty, carefully arranged, placed with offerings, perhaps the earliest known ritual burials for animals. You think about how meaning begins, how it grows from necessity and spirals into reverence. What started as food became companion, symbol, spirit. The sun begins to rise behind a distant hill, its light soft and hesitant, like it's asking permission to return. As it rises, you see carvings not just on stone, but on the surrounding rock faces, giraffes, long-necked and graceful, human figures in dance, herds of animals in motion, art that predates written language, and yet it speaks fluently. These petroglyphs feel like dreams caught mid-motion. There's one in particular, a circle of figures, arms outstretched, dancing around what appears to be a massive drum or portal. No one quite knows what it means. Some believe it's a ritual. Others say it could represent a celestial event or even a trance state. You feel something stir in your chest, that little flicker of curiosity, mingled with awe. Maybe you used to have been in that circle before. Maybe we all have. Here's the thought that lingers. What if these weren't just civilizations? What if they were mirrors of ourselves? Our hopes, our fears, our hunger to understand what lies beyond. A breeze passes. It smells of dust and time. You lie down in the tall grass, looking up at the wide blue dome of sky, which slowly deepens back into night, as if memory itself were breathing in reverse. You feel not alone. In the distance, laughter rises, childlike, clear. A campfire crackles to life. You can almost see the silhouettes of ancient families gathered around it, telling stories not to explain the world, but to feel at home in it. A young boy tells of stars that fall to earth and become rivers. A woman hums the names of winds, each with its own voice. An elder speaks of stones that remember, of spirits that sleep beneath lakes long vanished. And suddenly, everything feels connected, not through time but through attention. You let yourself be still. And in that stillness you realize silence is not the absence of sound, it's the presence of memory. Another star falls behind the hills, vanishing before you can wish on it. But somehow, your wish is heard anyway. You smile. The green Sahara fades again, not with sadness but with serenity, like a story told fully, like a song that ends right when it should. Your dream carries you onward into the next layer of remembering, the next whisper in the world's long unfinished lullaby. You awaken not in the usual sense, but in that quiet way dreams shift. The breath of the Sahara has faded, replaced by thick, moist air. It clings gently to your skin, like silk soaked in memory. Around you, the world has changed once again. Now you're surrounded by water, not the kind that splashes or flows, but the still, glistening sort that reflects moonlight with impossible calm. It's twilight, or perhaps dawn. It's hard to say. The wooden planks beneath your bare feet creak softly. You're aboard a narrow canoe, gliding through a flooded forest. Towering cypress trees rise around you like cathedral columns. Their roots braid beneath the surface, and Spanish moss drapes down like nature's own chandeliers. But this isn't Louisiana, or anywhere you've been before. This is a place deeper in time, deeper in origin. The city beneath the jungle, the lost realm of Nan Madol. You steer the canoe toward a misty shoreline that's barely visible between dense mangrove trees. Gradually, dark basalt ruins emerge, geometric, unnatural, yet softened by centuries of vines and stillness. Nan Madol, built from over 750,000 tons of volcanic stone, its stacked walls form canals, platforms and cryptic chambers. A floating city that once housed kings and priest-magicians. A civilization that to this day offers more questions than answers. You disembark. The stones beneath your feet are cool, slightly damp, covered in moss and whisper. There's something dreamlike about the design canals, in place of streets seawater, running like veins through the ruins. Some call it the Venice of the Pacific, but even that feels inadequate. Nan Madol isn't a reflection of something else. It is its own myth. Scientists still puzzle over how the builders transported the basalt logs, some weighing up to 50 tons each, without cranes, wheels, or iron tools. Oral legends claim the stones were moved by levitation or through the help of spirits. You smile gently at that, because sometimes legends hide truths we haven't yet learned how to measure. Imagine it, a network of 92 artificial islands, each one hand-built by ancestors who understood both stone and silence. This was a spiritual capital, reserved for rituals, burials, astronomy and rulership. The elite lived here, surrounded by water, insulated from the world they governed. It wasn't just a city, it was a cosmic map, an engineered convergence of power, belief and the sea. A lone owl calls from somewhere above. You find yourself drawn toward the center of the ruins, where larger structures loom. Nandar was, the royal mortuary. Its walls stand high, almost fortress-like, their dark stones still aligned with eerie precision. You run your fingers across them and feel time thrum beneath the surface. The bones of ancient kings may still lie within these walls, interred in coral tombs, sealed behind slabs of volcanic history. You wonder, did they rule kindly or cruelly? Did they see themselves as divine or merely custodians of something greater? No one knows for sure. Much of Nan Madol's history is stitched together from whispers, local legends, and the cautious guesses of scholars. What we do know is that the city was abandoned centuries ago. The ocean rose, the freshwater supply tainted, and the once vibrant spiritual capital sank into silence. Was it environmental collapse, rebellion, or something more mysterious? Some stories claim a curse descended upon those who lingered too long in the sacred center. But tonight, you feel no threat, only presence, reverence, a hush so profound it feels like prayer, and then movement. Not alarming, Just a flicker of light in the corner of your vision. Not fire, not reflection. Something else? Bioluminescence? Memory? You follow. Through narrow stone corridors, across half-submerged bridges, and into an open chamber where moonlight spills like milk into water. In the center of this space, an altar, or perhaps just a platform. It's hard to tell, and upon it, a carved shell, delicate and ancient. You hold it to your ear, expecting the ocean. Instead, you hear voices, chanting, melodic, not in any language you recognize, but you understand it all the same. It sounds like mourning and hope, a people longing for continuity, for legacy that can't be eroded. You return the shell gently. Here's a curious fact. In 2014, satellite scans revealed hidden structures beneath the waters around Nan Madol, possibly much older than the city itself. Buried secrets beneath visible ruins. Time layered upon time. You pause on the edge of the main canal and watch as the moonlight splits across the water like silver threads. Dragonflies skim the surface. The jungle breathes behind you. This is a city that tried to touch the divine, not through height like pyramids, but through depth, through water, reflection, shadow, and in its quiet it still speaks. You lie back on the stone, feeling the warmth of its day still lingering. Above you, stars gather again, mapping your next steps across the vault of night. You whisper, "I see you," and the city answers, not with sound, but with stillness so complete it echoes inside your chest. Sleep walks beside you again, offering a hand. You take it, letting Nan Madol dissolve into mist. The canoe returns. You step inside, and just like that, you're adrift, gliding between dreams, following the water's slow, silent pulse toward whatever waits beyond. A world both ancient and still waking. A story not lost, just paused. A breeze stirs the edge of your dream, brushing your cheek like a whisper from someone who once knew you deeply in another life. The air smells different now, dry and slightly metallic. The hum of water is gone, replaced by the slow rustle of wind through stone corridors. You're standing in a high desert under a cobalt sky, vast and empty, until it isn't. Beneath your feet, the sand thins to reveal a mosaic of white stones, placed in careful spirals that pull the eye inward. Ahead, scattered across a dusty plain, rise massive stone towers and half-buried buildings, like bones from the skeleton of a forgotten titan. Welcome to Göbekli Tepe, a place so old that when the pyramids were young, this sanctuary was already ancient history. Discovered in the 1990s in southeastern Turkey, Göbekli Tepe rewrote everything we thought we knew about civilization. These towering megaliths, some weighing up to 20 tons, were carved and erected 12,000 years ago, before the wheel, before cities, before agriculture as we know it. You take a slow step forward, awed by the surreal mix of simplicity and purpose. The T-shaped stones are arranged in circular enclosures, almost like an arena. Each pillar is carved with reliefs of animals, snakes, foxes, wild boars, cranes, creatures that don't just decorate, they speak. This wasn't a settlement. There are no hearths, no homes, no signs of permanent living. This was something else entirely. A temple, a gathering place, an ancient observatory aligned with the stars, or something we don't even have the vocabulary to describe. You walk the outer rim of one of the circles, your hand trailing along the stone's edge. It's warm from the sun, yet strangely alive, like it remembers the hands that placed it here, the chants that echoed through its open air. Here's a strange detail. Many of the reliefs depict animals not native to the region, as if they came from dreams or distant lands. One creature seems to follow you with its eyes, a feline form with an arched back and exaggerated tail. Not quite a lion, not quite a leopard, more like the idea of one. What did these people see? You wonder. What moved them to build? What if this was humanity's first cathedral of consciousness, a place to process awe itself, a response to sky and spirit? Researchers are still mystified by one haunting question. How could a group of prehistoric hunter-gatherers without writing, wheels or farming mobilize enough people to create something of this scale? You smile at the idea, because of course they could. Maybe awe came first. Maybe ritual birthed agriculture, not the other way around. Maybe the need to gather and remember and praise came before the need to plant. That would flip our story upside down. A soft vibration beneath your feet interrupts your thoughts. It's not an earthquake. It's music. You realize you sit not alone. Figures emerge, subtle and translucent, like morning mist given shape. They move slowly around the pillars, dressed in animal hides, their eyes wide with something between fear and reverence. They do not see you, but you see them. They circle, chant, place offerings of carved stone and dried flowers at the base of the monoliths. One stops, looking up at the tallest T-shaped stone, on which is etched a humanoid figure, arms to its sides, hands pointed downward. No mouth, no eyes, but presence. Something that says, I am not you, but I see you. The figure kneels and bows low, placing a smooth obsidian shard on the earth, then vanishes like smoke caught in a sunbeam. You pick up the shard, it's still warm, and suddenly you understand why this place was buried, hidden from the world for over 10,000 years. It was protected, because maybe, just maybe, Göbekli Tepe isn't a remnant, it's a seed, a coded message from our earliest ancestors, waiting for the right moment to bloom again. What would happen if we truly understood it? You step back, the sky shifting as the light deepens. Stars begin to emerge, faint but steady. A crescent moon hangs low, illuminating the circles like ancient stage lights. You lie down in the center of the largest enclosure, letting the stones rise around you like guardians. Above, constellations spin slowly, patient as breath, and just as sleep begins to reclaim you, a new mystery forms. Was this place built to worship the stars? Or did the stars form later, trying to remember this? The stars shift gently above you, and the stone guardians of Göbekli Tepe begin to blur, their edges softening like the folds of a fading dream. You close your eyes for a moment, and when you open them again, the ground beneath you is no longer sand and stone, but rich, damp soil, thick with the scent of earth after rain. You are deep in a jungle now, but not the kind you might expect. There are no howler monkeys or towering vines, just silence, heavy, ancient silence, broken only by the occasional drop of water falling from leaf to leaf. And then you see them. Pyramids, covered in moss, wrapped in vines, swallowed by centuries, yet still unmistakably human. This is the lost city of the Maya, El Mirador, hidden in the Petén Basin of northern Guatemala. Once, this city rivaled the great empires of history. Long before the famed Chichen Itza or Tikal, El Mirador rose like a green-clad metropolis in the heart of the rainforest, built not just with stone, but with cosmic ambition. You run your hand across the crumbling limestone, feeling the grooves of glyphs carved in patterns you can't begin to translate, but you can feel them, like music written in a forgotten key. This civilization was obsessed with time, not just counting it, but understanding it. Their calendars were not mere tools. They were maps of existence, predicting eclipses, charting Venus, tracking the rise and fall of dynasties, and somehow predicting cycles of collapse. A soft whisper dances through the trees, 13 back tunes, and then rebirth. You walk deeper into the ruins and arrive at Ladanta, one of the largest pyramids in the world by volume, larger than the Great Pyramid of Giza. But few know it, fewer still have seen it. Because El Mirador vanished, not in fire or conquest, but in silence, swallowed by jungle, forgotten by memory, protected by its remoteness. And here sips the strange part. There sips no clear reason why. No war, no plague, no drought strong enough to explain it. Archaeologists puzzle over it still. Maybe political upheaval, maybe unsustainable growth. Maybe they knew something and chose to disappear. You sit atop the great steps of La Danta, gazing out across a sea of green. A jaguar slinks by below, eyes glowing briefly before fading into shadow. High above, a ceiba tree stretches its limbs skyward, the sacred tree of life in Maya belief, its roots reaching into the underworld, its trunk in the living world, its branches touching the heavens. The Maya saw 3 worlds in one. You feel a strange shiver. Could we see the same if we only knew how to look? Here's an odd little fact. In many Maya temples, archaeologists have found offerings buried not beneath the structures but inside the walls, as if the buildings themselves had to be fed. A kind of sacred architecture, or maybe just hunger that stone could feel. You descend the pyramid slowly, guided by flickering torchlight that seems to appear just when needed. The deeper you go, the more humid the air becomes. You pass through chambers where walls are painted with red ochre, scenes of rituals, stars and serpents. The feathered serpent, Kukulkan, slithers across the ceiling in delicate patterns. Is he a god, a symbol, or both? In one chamber, a mural shows a man offering his blood to the earth, not out of punishment, but gratitude. How strange, to bleed for thanks. You lie back on a stone bench, and through a crack in the ceiling, a single beam of moonlight pierces the dark. Dust swirls in it like galaxies being born. A quiet question stirs inside you. If the Maya could predict their own fall, why couldn't Set they prevent it? And deeper still, what if they did? What if disappearance was the plan? A cosmic withdrawal waiting for another back tune, another cycle. They believed time didn't just end, it looped. Which means you might come back here again. Maybe in 1,000 years, maybe in 1,000 dreams. You stand again, climbing slowly back into the jungle air. The sounds return, the chirp of unseen birds, the hiss of wind against stone. A monkey howls in the distance, then falls silent. You look back once at La Danta, half dreaming. Somewhere in those stones is a memory of the world before us, and maybe a glimpse of the world still to come. But for now, the jungle wraps its arms around you once more, soft and leafy and green. And you walk onward, half asleep, into the next secret the earth has buried. The jungle breathes behind you, rhythmic and steady, like the lungs of something ancient that never truly died. You step quietly between roots and vines, your footsteps muffled by damp leaves and the pull of time itself. And just when you think the forest might swallow you entirely, light shifts again. Not sunlight, but moonlight reflected off water, wide water, still and silver. You're standing on the edge of a vast desert where nothing should be. A surreal, bone-dry silence stretches out before you, dotted with pillars and shattered stone. The jungle is gone now. You've arrived in the white desert of Egypt, where limestone formations rise like ghosts from the sand. But this isn't Sit, just desert. It's the whispering remains of Nabta Playa, a place older than the pyramids. Here, 6,000 to 7,000 years ago, prehistoric people gathered. They built stone circles not unlike Stonehenge, but older, maybe wiser. Imagine that Neolithic nomads who tracked the stars aligned stones to the summer solstice and carved their knowledge into nothing but sand and sky. And here's what's wild. Some archaeologists believe Nabta Playa may be the earliest known astronomical site in human history. Before Stonehenge, before the pyramids, before cities had names, they called the stars their calendar, their stories, their gods. Why here? Why then? And how? You crouch near a cluster of upright stones. They're simple, not grand, not carved with kings or myths, but they point to the sky with intentional precision, to Orion, to Sirius, to the center of the Milky Way. It's as if these early people understood their place not just on the Earth but in the cosmos. One quirky discovery: researchers found that some of the stones here align with lunar standstills, rare events in the Moon's orbit that take 18.6 years to complete a full cycle. That's not beginner astronomy, that's generational memory. You wonder how many nights they spent watching the sky, eyes wide, wrapped in furs, waiting for a single moment the moon would lean just right. And yet, Nabta Playa vanished. Not from war, not from flame, from climate. Once this place was a lush savanna, full of lakes and game, but as the Sahara expanded, the rains moved away, the people left, migrating toward the Nile and taking their knowledge with them. Some scholars suggest the builders of Nabta Playa may have passed that knowledge to the early Egyptians, that maybe the celestial wisdom of one vanished world helped shape the grandeur of the next. So you walk onward through the stones, brushing wind-blown sand off buried carvings, cattle mostly, sacred important, a lifeline. The air smells like chalk and thyme. A soft wind picks up, and for a moment the dunes seem to sing, a low hum, almost like chanting. You close your eyes and imagine it's a ritual. Not for gods, for stars. Because for the people of Nabta Playa, the divine wasn't far away, it was just up. And that's maybe the most humbling part. These weren't kings in golden crowns or architects of great tombs. They were herders carving circles in the dust, marking solstices, watching shadows move across stones, building meaning out of motion. You find a single rock carved with geometric symbols, triangles, lines, almost like a child's drawing, but even those carry depth. The language of a world that didn't write books, but wrote with placement. Is that why we still build monuments to time? To make sure someone somewhere knows we looked up. You sit for a while on a flat stone slab. The desert chill begins to bite, but it's not unpleasant. Overhead, the sky is clearer than anywhere you've ever seen. The Milky Way spills across the horizon like a question too big to ask. And just then, a shooting star arcs silently across the sky. No crowd to see it, no one to measure, just you. You wonder how many times these ancient people watched the same sky and thought, this too will pass. You run your fingers across the edge of a stone, warmed slightly by the last memory of sunlight. It doesn't tell you much, just that someone touched it before, that they looked up, as you do now, that they too whispered questions to the stars. And somewhere inside that whisper was a truth. We are not eternal, but wonder might be. You rise again, dusting off your hands. The wind shifts, carrying the scent of something unfamiliar, burnt wood, maybe, spiced air. Something is calling, and so you walk, slowly without hurry. The stars at your back and something ahead waiting to be remembered. The scent becomes stronger with each step. Smoke, yes, but also something sweet and ancient. A drifting trail of incense, maybe. You follow without question, as if your feet already know where to go. The desert gives way beneath you, gently at first, and then completely, as you descend into a canyon of carved sandstone, winding and surreal. Walls rise around you, like curtains drawn open for a sacred performance. You're entering Petra, not the tourist version you've seen in pictures, but a memory, a dream of it, before discovery, before time rearranged its stones. There is no noise but your breath and the breeze. The path narrows, winding through the sick, a natural geological passageway where water once carved the land like an artist with infinite patience. Walls tower above you, glowing soft orange and rose gold, brushed with centuries of wind. Then suddenly it opens, and there it is. The treasury, Al-Khazna, a facade cut into the face of the cliff, towering and ornate, and so precise it feels like music in stone. But here there are no tourists, no flashing cameras, just silence, stars and shadow. You walk slowly toward it, your footsteps muffled by soft dust. Petra was once the capital of the Nabateans, an ancient Arab people who mastered water in the desert. Imagine that hydraulic engineers hidden among cliffs, who built dams, tunnels and cisterns to turn dry land into sanctuary. They didn't just survive, they thrived. Their trade routes stretched from Arabia to the Mediterranean. They carried spices, incense, silk, and secrets. But what made them special wasn't just commerce, it was their understanding of space and light. The treasury you now face is more than a monument, it's an alignment. Some researchers believe its architecture was designed to catch the sun at key moments, solstices, equinoxes, light as calendar, shadow as timepiece. And deep inside Petra, in the monastery and high place of sacrifice, similar alignments whisper their ancient purpose. One oddity historians love to debate: despite their achievements, the Nabateans left almost no written records, no books, no long scrolls, just scattered inscriptions and the monuments themselves. So how did they know so much? Who taught them to shape stone this way, to read the sky, to bend water to their will? You step into the treasury's shadow. It's cooler here. You place your palm against the carved pillar. It feels alive. You can almost hear the echo of stone tools, the murmur of builders. And then you laugh, softly, because at some point every empire becomes a bedtime story. There's something charming about the idea that all of Petra's grand designs, its towering columns and hidden crypts, might have once been plans drawn in the sand by candlelight, over quiet tea. The Nabateans weren't immortal. Earthquakes came, trade routes shifted, the Romans absorbed them, and then like mist in morning sun they vanished. But Petra remained buried, hidden, asleep, until rediscovered in the 1800s by a Swiss explorer who disguised himself to get past local guards. That's a fun little twist, isn't it? A lost city revealed by a man pretending to be someone else. You look up again at the treasury, now bathed in starlight. It doesn't feel like a ruin. It feels like a memory with sharp edges, refusing to fade. You walk deeper into the city, past tombs carved into cliffs, past forgotten staircases, past the urn tomb, where whispers seem to gather. Every echo here feels deliberate, like the place is still performing for someone. Maybe for you. You think about the Nabateans and their choice to hide in plain sight. They didn't build atop mountains or in open deserts. They wove themselves into the land, vanishing behind beauty. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Sometimes survival isn't about being seen. It's steps about becoming part of the stone. At the end of a narrow passage, you find a pool, dry now, but once it shimmered with rainwater, collected, stored, worshipped. You sit beside it, and for a while you imagine it full, again, the sky reflected in the surface. The stars doubled. You reach down, trace the outline of a broken pottery shard embedded in the sand. Someone once held that. Maybe to drink, maybe to mix a pigment, maybe just to feel its weight. Small things endure, dunst they. You lean back, resting against a low stone. A breeze stirs again. That scent, smoke, spice, something citrusy returns, and you close your eyes. Maybe the gods of Petra are still here, not watching, but remembering. And maybe, as long as someone still listens, they haven't left. When you open your eyes again, you're no longer in the sandstone shadows of Petra. The desert has cooled, slipped away, replaced now by a jungle haze, thick with mist and music. The air is warmer, wetter. The scent shifts, orchid and rain, the green breath of leaves too wide to measure. Somewhere nearby, a bird cries out, not in alarm but in song. You're in the heart of the Maya world, deep within the tangled soul of Central America. Before you, swallowed by vines and crowned with moss, rises a stepped pyramid, majestic and motionless. You recognize the shape, angular, geometric, almost mathematical in its quiet certainty. This is Tikal, a lost Maya city once filled with life and language. You stand now where priests once climbed, steps to greet the dawn and offer smoke to the sky. But the city is still. The jungle has reclaimed it, growing through it like memory through dream. You move slowly through this forested palace. Above you, the howler monkeys begin their night ritual, voices like drums and thunder mixed with growls. You smile. It sounds like some ancient ceremony echoing through time. Tikal wasn't just a ceremonial hub, it was a superpower, once home to over 100,000 people, its pyramids and temples aligned to the stars. The Maya didn't guess at the heavens. They charted them with precision, long before telescopes or satellites. The great temple of the Jaguar towers over you, a steep climb etched into limestone and time. It faces Temple 2, across a central plaza where rituals unfolded under moonlight and mystery. You step carefully, watching for vines and roots, each one like a forgotten sentence curling from the earth. Did you know the Maya used a base 20 number system? That they invented the concept of zero independently, centuries before Europe? That they created one of the most complex calendar systems in the ancient world? And yet, they sit all here. Unlike some other lost civilizations, the Maya didn't vanish completely. Their descendants still live, still speak Maya languages, still honor old customs. What vanished was the empire, the networks, the city-states, the political tapestry held together by kings and mays. Scholars still debate what caused the collapse of cities like Tikal: drought, warfare, overpopulation, a spiritual decision to retreat from urban life. Some even whisper of internal prophecy, a belief that the cycle had to reset, that the cities had served their purpose, and the jungle was meant to take them back. You pause under a massive ceiba tree, its roots like veins in the soil. To the Maya, it was the tree of life, connecting the underworld, the earthly plane, and the heavens above. You place your hand against the bark and close your eyes. You almost expect to feel a pulse. Farther in, you discover an old stela, a carved stone slab depicting a king in profile, his face stern, elaborate headdress curling upward like smoke. Hieroglyphs spiral beside him, dense and poetic. The Maya script, once a mystery, has only recently been deciphered. Each glyph holds layers of meaning, names, dates, poems, dreams. They weren't just recording facts, they were casting memory into permanence. You wonder what it means to write in stone, and whether anything we write today could survive in the roots of a tree or the crack of a ruined step. Beneath the pyramid you find a chamber. No lights, only cool air, and the flicker of your imagination. You sit for a while in the dark, letting your breathing match the rhythm of the jungle. A thought arrives, uninvited. What if cities aren't meant to last forever? What if the real legacy of a civilization isn't the building, but the balance it strikes with the world around it? The Maya carved calendars into stone. Yes, but they also planted corn. They told stories. They watched Venus rise and waited for the rain. They lived with the sky, not apart from it. And so do you now, just for a moment. You lie back on the smooth floor, staring up through a crack in the ceiling where vines now dangle. Above the stars shimmer, below the jungle breathes. You've entered the temple of time, not to worship, but to listen. You close your eyes again and let the wind tell you what the glyphs no longer can. You're not sure how much time has passed when the winds shift again, soft as breath, lifting the jungle's edge like a curtain. A hush falls over everything, over vine, over branch, over temple stone, and you step out into something unexpected. A wide, frozen horizon. Snow crunches under your feet now. The stars burn brighter, colder, closer. The sky stretches overhead like a crystal bowl, and in the hush you hear the hum of silence itself. Welcome to the Arctic, but not the one we imagine with white emptiness and endless desolation. No, this was once a place of colour, trade, innovation and spirit. You're walking now through the remnants of the Dorset people, a culture so ancient they whispered across the ice long before the Inuit, long before the Norse arrived. You duck into a small circular shelter, a cormat, half buried, wind-tight. Inside it's dim but warm. Oil lamps once flickered here, fed by seal fat, glowing against smooth stone walls. You can almost hear the murmur of stories passed between generations, wrapped in caribou skins, eyes glinting like stars caught in frost. The Dorset were masters of survival. But more than that, they were artists. You run your fingers gently along a carved ivory figure, tiny, exquisite, and eerily modern. A delicate face, expression neutral. It feels alive somehow, as if watching you across thousands of years. These weren't mere toys or totems. They were memory, mystery, and perhaps identity. Did you know the Dorset had no bows and arrows? They hunted with harpoons and relied on close-quarter skill. They carved tiny masks and animal spirits with detail so fine, it defies explanation. And yet they disappeared. Before the 10th century, the Dorset vanished, leaving few clues behind. When the Inuit migrated eastward, the Dorset were gone, or perhaps faded into myth. Some Inuit elders still tell of the Tunet, a quiet, strong people who built walls of stone and didn't speak much. Were they real memories or inherited dreams? You gaze across the icy sea, wondering if the Dorset left of their own will, or were swept away by change too great to survive. Climate shift? Competition? Or perhaps they chose to step back, like shadows returning to dusk. Above you, the aurora stirs, that slow, celestial fire. Green ribbons coil across the heavens, a breath made visible. The Dorsets saw this too. Maybe they told stories of spirits dancing. Maybe they believed it was a door opening. You watch the lights ripple and ask yourself, what's more powerful, to build something that lasts forever, or to live so closely with nature that your very presence leaves no scar? The snow begins to fall gently now, tiny white stars landing on your lashes. You walk across the frozen bay, and in the distance, you spot a narrow trail of red ochre leading toward the cliffs. It's a burial site. Dorset graves were lined with stone, and the bodies carefully posed, facing the rising sun. Death to them was not absence, but transformation. You kneel beside one such place, untouched for centuries, and feel a strange peace. No monuments here, no collapsing temples, just snow, stone, and memory. As you rise and begin to walk again, you wonder, if you disappeared tomorrow, what small thing would you want to be found? A letter? A carved mask? Or just the feeling someone had when they were near you? The wind picks up, not harsh, but thoughtful, and you wrap your arms tighter around your coat. You are part of the silence now, a visitor in a world that never stopped whispering. In the distance, the aurora flares once more, greener, wider, spilling across the sky like ink across glass. And you know deep down the Dorset are still here, not gone, but woven into every flicker of that light. The snow carries you forward again, drifting into white, into wonder, into sleep. The light from the aurora fades, not in colour but in form, softening, swirling, and somehow melting into the air around you. The snow beneath your feet dissolves, and suddenly you're not cold anymore. You're not quite anywhere anymore. The wind hushes completely, and then, like turning a page in a book you didn't know you were reading, you find yourself in the heart of the desert. It's not harsh, it's not burning, it's golden, a honey-coloured sea of shifting dunes under a lavender sky. The sand isn't hot to the touch. It's fine like powdered thyme, and it slides between your fingers like a whispered secret. You hear it first before you see it. The creak of ancient wood, the rustle of linen. You crest a dune, and there it is, a caravan frozen in place, whole camels mid-step, traders wrapped in robes of white and indigo, a moment suspended, and in the distance the unmistakable glint of a city buried in the sand. This is Ubar, the Atlantis of the sands, also called Iram of the pillars, mentioned in the Quran, pursued by explorers, dismissed by skeptics, and yet here you are, standing before its impossible beauty. Massive columns rise from the earth like fossilized thunderbolts, wrapped in creeping vines and etched with glyphs. No one has spoken in centuries. Some say Ubar was a center of trade and wealth. Others say it was a place of sin, swallowed by God in a storm of retribution. Both ideas shimmer in the air, neither more real than the other. Inside the ruins, the walls breathe warmth. You follow your fingertips along murals of impossible complexity, spirals, animals, and eyes, always the eyes. They follow you, but not in menace, in memory. You pass a small pool of water, untouched by time, surrounded by lapis lazuli fragments. The blue stones seem to hum with old electricity, and as you sit beside it, listening, you begin to notice the city is not abandoned, not completely. Somewhere deeper, laughter echoes, faint, not ghostly, just distant, as if from a memory you're not sure belongs to you. There's a fact here, buried among the myth. In 1992, satellite imagery revealed ancient trade routes beneath the sands of Oman, leading to what may have been a lost city. Archaeologists uncovered remnants of stone towers and artifacts. It was called the frankincense capital. Was it Uber? But as always, debate dances on. Some say the discovery was exaggerated. Others say the real Ubar remains unfound. The desert protects her secrets with gentle stubbornness. Here's the strange part. This city doesn't feel gone. It feels paused, like a dream that someone somewhere might still be having. A traveller asleep beneath the stars, imagining their return. You climb a staircase where the pillars lean like tired guardians. At the top there's a view not just of the ruins, but the caravan trail, still etched faintly into the land. You picture traders bringing incense, gold, glass, and stories. You whisper to yourself, what would I trade to remember everything I've forgotten? As if in answer, the wind picks up, carrying a scent of myrrh and fig. It's rich, earthy, something ancient people would recognize instantly, even if you don't. You descend again, past collapsed ceilings and courtyards overgrown with desert roses. There's a small mosaic on the ground, a spiral sun, surrounded by tiny golden stars. You kneel beside it, brushing the sand away, revealing more detail. It looks like a map, but not of this world. Maybe of time itself. A soft chuckle escapes you. Yeah, that seems about right. And for just a moment, you imagine the people who once walked here, not kings or villains, but you, someone who laughed at bad jokes, someone who tripped over their own robe, someone who fell in love and never quite got over it. They walked here, and now you do. You leave Uber the same way you arrived, by feeling it dissolve around you. The sand becomes mist, the pillars become light, and the stars above blink knowingly, as if to say, not everything lost is meant to be found. Some things are meant to be felt. Your feet land again on something solid. It takes a second for your eyes to adjust. The next world is waiting. But Uber lingers behind your eyes, like smoke, like song, like the scent of frankincense in an empty room. You stand still, feeling the pulse of the world shift again. Not a jolt this time, but a gentle breath out. The desert haze thins into fog, then dew, then rain, and you're somewhere else entirely. A rainforest. Thick, endless green. The kind of green that feels eternal, ancient, breathing. Everything here is alive in a way that makes you feel temporarily borrowed. Trees tower above you, their canopies stretching like cathedral ceilings, dripping with the memory of morning rain. The air is heavy, fragrant with moss, wet bark and orchids. You step forward slowly, your hands brushing the wide leaves that curl inward at your touch. Light filters down in beams, golden and broken, the jungle's version of stained glass. Ahead lies a stairway, not carved, not placed, but grown. tree roots twisted into perfect angles, forming steps that lead somewhere, and as you climb, the forest parts to reveal stone faces hidden in the trees, massive, serene, watching. You've arrived at Ciudad Perdida, the lost city of Colombia, known to the indigenous Tairona as Tayuna. Built more than 600 years before Machu Picchu, it rises from the jungle like a secret whispered to the mountains. Here's something true. Ciudad Perdida was rediscovered in the 1970s after being hidden for centuries, reclaimed by roots and vines. Treasure hunters stumbled upon it, led by greed, but stumbling nonetheless into awe. And even now, scientists debate whether we've truly found all of it. Many believe more lies beneath waiting, watching. You walk its circular terraces, each stone warm beneath your bare feet. Unlike many ruins, this place doesn't feel broken. It feels asleep, dreaming. The air carries the hum of cicadas, and something else, a soft drumming. You follow the sound. Past moss-covered dwellings, you find a platform shaped like an eye. In the centre, a bowl of stones arranged in a spiral. You kneel beside it, wondering if it was a map, a calendar, or simply art. The rain starts again, but it's warm, and it feels like applause. You run your fingers along the carvings on a nearby pillar. A serpent coils upward, swallowing its tail, a symbol of eternity, or maybe of beginning again. You smile at that. A strange tidbit bubbles up. There are no wheels found here, no writing. The Tairona people used symbolic language through design, pattern, gesture, a kind of storytelling that lived in rhythm rather than record. It was about memory, not documentation. That sticks with you. What if not everything needs to be written down? What if the way we walk, the way we love, the rituals we keep? You spot a rope bridge ahead, half hidden by vines. Crossing it feels like stepping through time itself. The other side reveals a lookout. From here, the jungle stretches endlessly in all directions. You can't tell where the mountain ends and the forest begins. A quiet question. How many stories have we lost beneath this green, and how many still grow quietly, just out of reach? Then a flicker. A figure. You blink. It's gone. But for a moment, you swore you saw someone, cloaked, tall, standing at the edge of the trees, watching, not threatening, just aware, like a librarian noticing someone entering the archive. You descend again, feeling the soft ache of old stone underfoot. Your breath sinks with the jungle, and everything slows. Each drop of rain, a lullaby. Each breeze, a page turning. And then, a final moment before you go, you place your palm flat against one of the temple walls. It feels warm, alive. You whisper, "Still here," and the jungle seems to reply, "Always." The mist returns, wrapping around you like silk. Ciudad Perdida fades, but not completely. It's part of you now. You feel something new stirring in the air, a saltiness, a breeze. The next place calls. The whisper of salt grows stronger, as though the wind itself is pulling you forward by the edges of your curiosity. Your bare feet now sink into something softer, cool, shifting sand. You blink against the brightness. The jungle has disappeared behind you, and in its place, the coast. But not just any coast. This is Doggerland, though that name may not yet mean much to you. You stand on the edge of the North Sea, but something's wrong. There are no crashing waves, no seabirds crying overhead. Instead, it's eerily calm, like time is holding its breath. The water is shallow, glassy, stretching out endlessly. And on the horizon, you see land. More land. Grasslands, forests, rivers, a place that shouldn't exist. But it does. Because you drifted back to a time when Great Britain wasn't set an island at all. When it was connected to continental Europe by a vast, fertile landscape, Doggerland, sometimes called the Atlantis of the North. It's around 10,000 BCE. Woolly mammoths still roam. People gather by lakes, fish in wide rivers, and carve bone tools with quiet purpose. They have no idea that beneath their feet lies a ticking clock, a slow flood that will one day drown everything they know. You walk across the once submerged plain. Grasses brush your legs, and birds wheel overhead. There's a clarity in the air, like the world is younger, newer, still deciding what it wants to become. A gentle laugh escapes you when you think, this was London once, or maybe Rotterdam, maybe both. And here's the historical truth. Over time, rising sea levels from melting glaciers swallowed Doggerland completely. What was once home to thousands became sea. Today, fishermen still pull up bone harpoons and mammoth teeth from the North Sea bed. But the strangest part? Some scientists now believe a massive underwater landslide, called the Storegga Slide, triggered tsunamis that hastened the end of Doggerland. A sudden, catastrophic gulp. The ocean doesn't always take its time. You sit near what looks like the remnants of a fire pit, still warm, embers, glowing faintly. Were you just with someone, a family, a hunter, or maybe just the echo of memory? There's a spearhead lodged in a stump nearby. You pull it free, and etched into its stone is a curious pattern, not writing, not art, just intention. Like someone knew you'd find it, a reminder that all things leave a trace, even if buried beneath centuries of sand and sea. You take it with you. A quirky note bubbles up. In the UK, there was once a plan to build artificial islands to represent Doggerland, to give form to the forgotten. But it never happened, as if the land preferred to remain a mystery. You rise, the wind now colder. A grey fog creeps in from the east. It smells of salt and history. Then, as you look back across the vanished plain, a single word surfaces in your mind: unremembered. And it doesn't feel sad. It feels sacred. Because not everything needs to be preserved to matter. Some things whisper louder when they're lost. As the sea rises once more to reclaim Doggerland in your dream, you smile and step forward into the rising tide. It's not cold. It's like silk. You drift. The sky shifts colour again. Deeper, bluer. The fog becomes night. And somewhere far ahead, stone flickers in moonlight. The ruins of a civilization born from salt and stars. The sea gently releases you onto another shore, one formed not by sediment or shifting sands, but by the deliberate hands of an ancient people who charted stars, carved stone, and whispered myths into the very bones of the earth. You have arrived at the doorstep of Nabta Playa. The air here is drier, sharper, and the sky overhead is impossibly wide. Not a single cloud dares cross the heavens. Only the sun reigns, casting long shadows across the endless desert. This isn't Egypt as most imagine it. No golden tombs or hieroglyph walls. You're thousands of years earlier, deep in the Neolithic era, surrounded by stone circles and megalithic alignments that rival Stonehenge in age, and perhaps in purpose. You walk among the standing stones, arranged in careful geometric silence, each one humming with forgotten intent. It's said these people, pastoral nomads, built the world's oldest known astronomical site here, before pyramids, before kings. You look up. There it is, the constellation Orion, perfectly mirrored by the alignment of these stones on the desert floor. Did they worship Orion? Or was it simply a cosmic companion across centuries of sun and drought? Your fingertips trail across one weathered stone still warm from the sun. It's marked, not with writing, but with star paths, intricate enough to suggest they were mapping celestial movements thousands of years before most civilizations had even begun to build. A gentle, ironic smile crosses your face. People argue endlessly over when civilizations began, as if they can draw a single neat line in time. But here in Nabta Playa, that line blurs, becomes a circle, a spiral, a cycle under the stars. In the soft silence, a goat bleats somewhere in the distance. A herder appears, leading a few sleepy animals across the plain. He nods at you with the easy timelessness of someone who doesn't need clocks to know the hour. You wave back, but the gesture feels ceremonial, like two travelers acknowledging each other across different centuries. Here's something odd. One of the stone formations includes a series of burial tumuli, each containing cattle remains, not humans, cattle, as sacred as any pharaoh, maybe more. It makes you wonder, what did they dream of at night? Did they lie under the open sky, listening to desert winds and Orion's silent passing, wondering if the stars noticed them back? You hear a flute, soft, reedy, made from bone. Somewhere nearby, someone is playing it. The notes dance like dust devils across the sand, swirling around you. You can almost hear a child laughing, a story being told in a language that never had an alphabet. Some scholars still debate whether this place was a seasonal camp, an early temple, or something stranger like an interstellar calendar, but none can deny the awe these stones inspire, lined up like a question for the sky to answer. You kneel in the center of the main circle, close your eyes, and then, in a dream within a dream, the desert blooms. For a moment, Nabta Playa springs to life, green and wet, just as it was millennia ago during the African humid period. The lake returns, shimmering and full. Papyrus rustles at the edge. Children run between huts. Women grind grain. Old men speak to the stars. You open your eyes. The lake vanishes. The grass fades. You're back in the dust, but the stones remain. Quiet, eternal, like memory etched into the earth's own skin. You stand, brushing off sand. The wind carries you again, whispering across continents, across time. As you drift upward, yes, upward, you see the circle of Nabta Playa grow smaller beneath you, until it becomes a pinpoint of human longing etched into desert silence. And ahead, a red, broken city, a labyrinth. Walls made of clay, dreams made of blood and trade. You're heading toward the lost city of kings and riddles. The place once called You descend gently through starlight, as if carried on a thread spun by time itself, until the outline of a city begins to sharpen beneath you. A city neither alive nor truly dead, just waiting. This is and it rises from the Mesopotamian dust like a dream too stubborn to fade. The wind here smells ancient, like sun-baked clay and distant thunder. Somewhere far off, a river still murmurs. The Euphrates, once the artery of empires, now only a shadow of its former strength. But remembers. You touch down beside the massive bulk of a ziggurat, a towering step pyramid rising proudly against the sky, its bricks laid by hand, each one stamped with the mark of a long-dead king. You run your fingers across one of those bricks. Still warm, still solid. It reads, "For Nana, the moon god, Namu, has built this." And just like that, you're inside it. No stairs, no door. The walls of time bend. Inside the temple, moonlight filters through cracks in the stone. There is quiet, but it's not empty. It's thick with memory. Priests once stood here, chanting to the heavens. Astronomers watched the skies. Kings knelt, hoping the gods were listening. Was not a small village or a forgotten outpost. It was a beating heart of Sumer, the world's first true city, a place of writing, of law, of poetry, of trade, where the wheel turned not just carts but economies, where clay tablets carried stories older than Genesis. As you walk the city's streets, you pass low walls and tiled courtyards. You hear sandals slapping stone. A merchant calls out. Children argue in Sumerian. A scribe hunches over a tablet, etching a line from the Epic of Gilgamesh, unaware his story will outlive empires. It's strange how alive this all feels. Even stranger to realize that beneath your feet lies the tomb of Queen Puabi, untouched for 4,000 years before it was discovered. Her burial chamber was filled with gold, lapis lazuli, and 52 attendants buried beside her. You shiver. Was it honor or something darker? But just as quickly, the unease fades. You pass through a colonnade and emerge into a garden. Palm trees sway. Birds call lazily. A couple walks past, holding hands. Their clothes are unfamiliar, linen robes and bronze jewelry, but their smiles are timeless. You sit beside a small fountain. The water is cool on your fingers. Here's a quirky fact. Archaeologists found a tablet here, listing Sumerian beer recipes, some of the oldest ever written down. Imagine that. Even before democracy or algebra, people were perfecting how to unwind with a drink. The sky above deepens. The stars blink on. And there's that gentle irony again, how a city built to touch the gods ended up buried for millennia. How even the greatest capitals can be reduced to ruins, then rediscovered by wide-eyed wanderers like you. You climb to the top of the ziggurat. From here the whole plain spreads out, a quilt of memory and dust. In the distance Babylon slumbers. Further still the mountains of Persia glow faintly. This is where it all began. Cities, writing, astronomy, law, the long winding dream of civilization. You lie back on the sun-warmed stone and let it all blur. The past becomes sound. The sound becomes rhythm. The rhythm becomes breath. And slowly, gently, you feel yourself drifting. Your journey is slowing now. Like a leaf swirling down through dusk, your thoughts begin to settle. The voices of ancient kings, the songs of forgotten cities, the rustle of reeds by lost rivers, they grow softer, distant, like echoes behind a velvet curtain. You still wandered through temples and stone circles, across frozen tundras and sun-scorched deserts. You still watched stars guide builders, birds map continents, and myths sculpt monuments. And through it all, one truth has whispered beneath your feet. We are not the first to wonder, not the first to dream, not the first to leave messages in stone, hoping someone, somewhere might one day listen. So, let that comfort you. The world is old, yes, but so is belonging, so is curiosity, so is the need to build something that endures. Breathe deeply now.